Hello everybody, MP, doing another weekly winners draft. This week, we just had breaking news, saw the video, Joe Burrow going down on a non-contact lower leg injury. But Q-Sub doesn't care, drafting Jamar Chase, 101 in weekly winners. We don't have any further information, it just happened a few minutes ago, so we're definitely going to be pushing the Bengals down our board here. But we're back up on the board at the 11th spot here, and just a couple of picks for weekly winners. Done a few of these already. And our strategy has mostly been looking at the NFL schedule and trying to correlate inter and intra-divisional matchups in order to kind of stack as many and get as much bring back and game stack correlations as we can. I want to try something a little bit different today after watching a couple more pieces of content, and specifically the thread from Dooley Data on Twitter here, what he was highlighting that you really need to be focusing more on the ceiling outcomes. And the big thing to take away from that was a lot of it was from the tight end position. Now we have our first choice to make here, CeeDee Lamb or Bijan Robinson. Let's go CeeDee Lamb and get a strong wide receiver grouping here. We want guys who can reach a high ceiling outcome, which CeeDee Lamb was able to do a couple times last year. Okay. Devontae Adams, and we don't want Garrett Wilson. I think it's a pretty easy choice there between Devontae and CeeDee Lamb. So I do want to quickly look at the schedule and see what we are getting with the NFC East. Let's see, they're playing the AFC East, I believe, and the NFC West. Yep, NFC West and AFC East, okay. And then Las Vegas. In the AFC West, looks like they're playing the AFC East and the NFC North, is it? Chicago, Detroit, Minnesota, Green Bay. Okay, so they're playing the NFC North and the AFC East. Dallas is playing the AFC East and the NFC West. A couple things to keep in mind there. Next is one of the big pieces of information that came out from that thread that I think a lot of people have started to take into account, is that Travis Kelce is being overdrafted, especially when he's going picks 1, 2, 3, and I think 4 as well, because of the fact that you can get so many tight ends later on at the end of the draft, and they are hitting spike weeks. When their spike weeks hit, it means so much more. And in order for Travis Kelce to pay off this 4th round overall ADP, you're going to have so much more hit. He's going to have to hit so high, even higher than he did last year. He's going to have to be far and away the best tight end. He's going to have to be competing with the rest of these guys that you passed up on. And then you have to make up for that, 10th round pick where somebody else is getting their tight end who's spiking. So we want to take that into consideration. We just want to tweak our strategy a little bit more. Very interesting that the Kelce drafter had an opportunity to pair it up with Mahomes and didn't go for it, instead going for Tony Pollard. That's quite an interesting choice there. I think if you're going to take Kelce at 4, you almost have to take Patrick Mahomes there, and you're really hoping for some correlation. Okay, so Q-Sub, not at all deterred by Joe Burrow's possible season-ending soft tissue issue, a non-contact injury. That's kind of what the fear is right now at the moment. This stack here, a ton of people have been doing it, and not from the one spot. I don't think it's terrible to take Jamar Chase over Justin Jefferson, although if there's a questionable Joe Burrow injury, now there certainly will be. But I did also want to get into this draft because of the fact that happened, hoping that somebody on here hadn't been on Twitter in the last 10 minutes. But what we want to do instead is focus on ADP value, probably waiting on quarterback until rounds, 10 or something around there. Picking up as many of the skill position players, specifically wide receiver, in the early rounds as possible. Grabbing the running backs in that round 9, 10, 11, 12 range. And also, in accordance with Dooley's research, it seemed to be that taking the tight ends also helps prevent you from taking the running backs and wide receivers who are have a question about whether or not they're just going to be total zeros and not do anything for your team. And even if they do spike, they have to spike over the rest of the players that are getting drafted much higher. So I don't know if I'm explaining that properly, but okay. Another thing to do, we want to focus on deep threat receivers. Any player that can break off huge long bomb touchdowns. So we have a couple of those guys here. I think DK qualifies, Debo qualifies, Justin Fields. If we do want to go for a rushing quarterbacks, we don't need to really worry about correlation. What's Fields ADP here? It's 32. So if he falls to us, we would be getting a little bit of value. New England does have that AFC East correlation, although everybody does seem to be scared about New England imminently signing a guy. Dalvin Cook, he's in the air, right? Another report on Twitter. He's flying somewhere, be it in New York or in New England, between Breece Hall and Ramondre Stevenson. One of these two guys' ADPs is about to fall in a major way. I don't even want to take Breece Hall anyway. And I'm going to pass on Justin Fields here. Well, maybe not, because there is a chance that if I take Fields, the Debo will still come around to me. Let's try it. Let's go with Justin Fields. We're going to grab an elite quarterback. We don't really have to worry about grabbing any pass catchers, although we can go for Cole Kmet because he doesn't cost all that much. TJ Hawkinson, we could reach for him in the early fourth round here. But if Debo Samuel's going to be there, I think we take our shot on him. If not, who do we like? Guys that can have huge breakaway touchdowns. Mike Williams, I think Travis Etienne qualifies in that as well. Jahmyr Gibbs, just because they're going to be playing on a high. Ooh, Debo Samuel did go, so we didn't get our guy there. That's okay, though. Mike Williams, we're betting on the Chargers. They're definitely going to be increasing their ADOT from last year. We already... We don't have an anchor running back. And if we don't get Travis Etienne, we won't be getting one. Or Mike Williams. Zero running back. Do we want to go zero running back? Can we get a guy like Alexander Madison? I think we'll go Etienne here to get our RB1. All right. The plan was to let Fields pass us by, to not have to take a quarterback early on in this range, but we pushed it anyway. Quarterbacks, the first tier, including Lamar these days. Joe Burrow's obviously there. I don't think that's a great pick. Justin Fields, I think, should be going ahead of Burrow anyway, pre-injury. But now with the news of the injury, it's definitely... So we want to cash in with Joe Burrow. If anything comes from this Joe Burrow injury, like if it's not just, oh, he'll be back there out there in a few days, Joe Burrow is going to be falling down. And I think with that, Justin Fields is going to be getting pushed up. So we got... Let's see, what was his ADP? We did get a little bit of ADP value. Couple of picks. Pick 35, his ADP is 32. So we got a couple picks of value on Justin Fields there. And I think we're going to get some closing line value in the coming week or so, if that Joe Burrow injury does turn out to be something a bit more severe. Even if it's not a season-ending injury, if it's just like a calf strain that's going to sideline him for all of training camp, but he'll be back week 1, supposedly. I think even then, in this format especially, Justin Fields is going to be coming up and Joe Burrow is going to be coming down. The stack here is going to be less desirable. People have been reaching, when this contest first launched, you would go Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and then try and get Joe Burrow in the 4th round at that kind of 47, 48 range. But people have been giving up on that because it just wasn't possible. It wasn't happening hardly at all. It was hard enough. I went for it. I think I was at the 2 spot. I had Chase, Higgins, and I had the choice. I think I went Andrews in my 3rd round, hoping for Joe Burrow, but I didn't get him. Maybe that's a good decision now because it just broke out that he might have a severe injury. All right, Justin Fields. We got some NFC North, though, which is what we were also hoping to get because they are playing against Vegas. Isn't that right? In the AFC West, we have Chicago, Week 7, Las Vegas, and Chicago. Where's Dallas? Ooh, Dallas is on a bye that week. That's unfortunate. So we're losing out on our number 1 wide receiver that week if we want to stack up. All right. In that case, probably, if I had been looking at that, maybe Travis Etienne wasn't the pick. because we wanted another top receiver. A guy like Mike Williams might have been it, as long as their bye isn't week 7. Carolina, Cincinnati, Dallas, Houston. Okay, but we can still make up for it. New York, Jets, and Tennessee. All right, there's still some high-flying offenses available. We can get some guys to spike on that week 7 if we want to continue on that line. We also got Jacksonville. Looks like they are playing the AFC North. I see Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincy. Okay, yep. And I see KC and Buffalo, but it looks like they're playing the NFC South. Carolina, Tampa Bay, New Orleans. Yeah. But they have a couple of really good matchups against Kansas City and Buffalo. And Indianapolis in week 1. So AFC South there to go along with Jacksonville. NFC North, that pairs up with Las Vegas in the West. We got 11 picks. Anybody going crazy here? No quarterbacks going off the board in the 4th round after Justin Fields. Justin Herbert did just go off at 52. George Kittle at 53. Let's see, I was wondering where TJ Hawkinson would go, 39. Breece Hall at 40. He's just steadily tumbling down. Joe Mixon at 43. He is shooting up. Najee Harris falling down in a major way. Madison. All right. Let's take a peek. We have Ayuk, Kenneth Walker. If Kenneth Walker makes it back to us, I think we should have taken him there. Tyler Lockett, I do like as well, playing in that NFC West. I do think he's also got that long bomb threat touchdown. Gabe Davis, a big threat for long touchdowns. Deontay Johnson, I don't think is that guy. Smith and Jigba. Mike Evans. The guy behind us, he's 0-2-2-0. Bijan Jameer, he's got 2 rookies, running backs, and then Amon-Ra and Debo. All right, Trevor Lawrence, Kyle Pitts, Deontay Johnson going off the board. Looks like we're going to have our pick of the litter here. If I had to guess what Ulis is going to do, just because he went with Debo in front of me, he's got that NFC West. Maybe he's going to go Tyler Lockett, but people do seem to like Gabe Davis. Now, there are some people who got Gabe Davis later on when this draft contest first opened, but since I'm at the 11-12 turn side of the board, I don't think he was falling all the way down there. We are getting several picks of value on Kenneth Walker. Let's just take it. See if we can't get one of these 2 wide receivers. Kenneth Walker at pick 59. I think that's more than a fair price to pay. We got NFC West. Hopefully we can get Tyler Lockett to stack up with that. And then we can definitely be looking at a guy like Geno. We want to take him as our second quarterback. That's another thing that Dooley was talking about on Twitter. I think he's less inclined to be going with 1 quarterback builds if you're going to go for an elite guy even. And you should be taking multiple quarterbacks. They were even talking about taking like 4 quarterbacks, 4 tight ends, 5 tight ends maybe in the last rounds, just to give yourselves more opportunities. Even though these guys might only spike once, if you draft 4 of them, you're covering your bases for 20% of the season. All right, Gabe Davis I do like, but I think we have to go with Tyler Lockett here. We did have that AFC East correlation with Gabe Davis and Buffalo, but I think Seattle. We're going to continue our bet with Seattle. And let's quick go to the schedule. They are playing anybody we have correlation with. Dallas in week 13. And looks like that's it. No Chicago, no Vegas. All right, week 13. Who else do we have? Where's Chicago in week 13? On bye. So we'll be looking for Geno on that week. How about Las Vegas? They're on bye. Wonderful. We are shooting ourselves in the foot with the bye weeks here. And then Dallas and Seattle. Where's Jacksonville? Where do they got? Cincinnati. Okay. Maybe we can go for one of the questionable backup running backs in Cincinnati. Irv Smith. Some just ancillary piece if we think that Seattle's going to be storming. And one of the guys, just somebody late in Cincinnati scores a touchdown for that week. So far, we've not done well stacking up our bye weeks. Not that that's a huge consideration. All right, Darren Waller, I do like. I'm pretty sure he's up above. No, I was thinking he was up above Goddard. He was there for a minute. Goddard went at 66. Waller's still on the board. A lot of these running backs, kind of the dead zone, starting with Dobbins, Sanders, Pierce. Swift and Montgomery are a little bit further behind, I think, if you're looking at the Best Ball Mania. We're getting to the point in the wide receiver queue where you don't love any of these guys. Although, of all these, I think George Pickens is probably the touchdown guy, right? The 9-round guy. We do have some correlation there with Dallas. I think we don't have any correlation. No, we do. All of this. Washington, we got the East, we got the NFC North, AFC North, Baltimore. All right, 7 picks away. All that value at running back seems to be going off the board. Although J.K. Dobbins, people are worried, I think, about his quote-unquote injury. What is this saying? They'd have to ask Dobbins if they want to know about his status. That's pretty clearly a contract situation to me. If you read the discourse on Twitter, it seems to be everybody's saying that J.K. doesn't have any leverage. There's nothing he can do. But is he crazy enough to hold out? I mean, he's barely produced. He's barely been on the field enough. All the running backs, I think this whole running back thing is mostly smoke. I think most of them will be settled. Because the problem is, right, even if they hold out, they just sign one of these other guys, Zeke, Fournette. All right. No need to think about it any further. J.K. Dobbins goes off the board at 76. I think that'll turn out to be pretty good value later on. All right, Kadarius Toney. Mr. Knee Surgery Man. We don't want to be considering him really here. George Pickens at the top of my list. He just went. Anybody else here? Traylon Burks. All right, we got one pick. Han Dotson and Brandon Cooks. Ole's behind us. He's pretty even at 3 and 3. Running backs and wide receivers. I think we go Cooks here. And hopefully Dak falls to us a little bit down in the 9th round. See if we can't stack him up. In our next pick, if Jahan is there, I think we go for it. There's not going to be any more of these wide receivers that we're really excited about drafting, I think, in that next 2 rounds. We want to be hitting a lot of the running backs that are there. We'll keep Cole Kmet, $50 million man. Maybe that's why all these running backs are starting to get angry. J.K. Dobbins angry. They see what the money that Cole Kmet's making. All right. Jahan Dotson went. What do? We got Kadarius Toney here. I don't like it. Pacheco, Evan Ingram. Do have some Jacksonville. $82. Let's take Pacheco. We got skill players falling like flies in Kansas City. We got that AFC West. We can correlate with our Las Vegas. We're a little light on wide receivers here. And if we're going to be taking Dak in the next round, we don't have to, because we got Justin Fields. In fact, we probably shouldn't. Unless we can get good ADP value on him, which if he's there, That is behind ADP. Let's see, 107. Where is he at? 100. So we can get him like 7 picks behind ADP. That might be worth it. If not, we're going to not be pressed because we got Fields. Pull up that schedule again. That Dallas. Seattle in week 13. We also do have the option for Geno. We should probably wait. I don't think we should go for Dak. So just make the bet that we're going to get really good ADP value on either Dak or Geno. Call it a round or more. There's still some wide receivers here that I think we should be considering. Yeah, that's kind of the last one. Bateman. Let's throw Michael Thomas in there. He doesn't really correlate that much. Although I do think Jacksonville plays the NFC South. So Michael Thomas has the Saints wide receiver 2 as our wide receiver 5. Not a bad idea. We can start to think a lot about tight end. Pittsburgh. They have that week 17 game against Seattle. Don't think we need to go for it, though. Taysom Hill. Obviously, he's the cheat code, but everybody kind of knows it now. You'd have to get some, at least him at or beyond ADP value. Somebody reach on Cole Kmet? No. I just can't see him. He's all the way down at tight end 18. Okay. For a while there, I thought he was a lot higher up. Past Dulcich. Everett's been coming up. Higbee's been coming up. Punk was down. Dulcich is up. Taysom's up big. That's the big one. So Njoku's there. We also have Anthony Richardson. Naked Anthony Richardson? Naked Justin Fields? Kind of interesting. All right, Rashad Penny, definitely. Odell Beckham, I think we can include him in our list of wide receivers. People hate him, but I'm pushing him down the board. We were talking about that game against Cincinnati. If we want to think about it. Samaje Perine. Damian Harris, yeah. We can put A-Chain in there as well. Jeff Wilson, though. Just so hard to take A-Chain for me at this range. When Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson, you can grab much later. Wide receivers are going fast and furious. Huge block of running backs going off the board. So let's just grab all of these running backs in this range that we want to be pulling. Even Brian Robinson. Kincaid as well. Some more AFC East. As our tight end 1. All right, we're coming up. Good ADP value on Bateman if he makes it to us here. Possibility. These two next guys on the clock have 5 and 4 wide receivers, respectively, already. I'm thinking we push quarterback. Bend over. Took Dak Prescott. All right. Yep, Rashad Bateman off the board. Think about Anthony Richardson as well. Last year, Fields was such a winner. One of the things from Dooley's thread as well. Anthony Richardson just went off the board right in front of us. But rushing quarterbacks who are being drafted late, who have a huge opportunity to kind of outplay their position. All right, I think we wait on quarterback, but what do we do here instead? 102. David Njoku. Let's go with Njoku as our first tight end. I was thinking Yuli's here. Didn't have any tight ends. He's very even, 4-4. We got some ADP value on Njoku, 4 or 5 picks or so. Daniel Jones was the other quarterback I was kind of looking at. The question is, I think as well, do we take Geno Smith? Kirk Cousins is on the board. I think we need another wide receiver. Let's go with Odell. Squeezed out a little bit of extra ADP value on him. And people have kind of left him for dead, but he could be the wide receiver 1 in Baltimore. And even if he's not, if Baltimore is having the big season, he's probably going to make it. Now, if Taysom Hill is there in our next pick, we're definitely taking him. No questions about it. Dalton Kincaid, I think he'll be fine. Denver, some AFC West, we can think about it. Elijah Mitchell, NFC West, not bad. Jamal Williams, I think really, I mean, he's the only guy in New Orleans at the moment, especially at the beginning of the season. Jacoby Myers, if we want a backdoor. Jimmy Garoppolo. That could be something. Pairs with our Justin Fields. Because I'm not going to draft Jimmy. I won't draft Jimmy G probably unless I get another Vegas pass catcher. And so that's kind of the theory there. If I don't draft Jacoby Myers, or if I don't draft Michael Mayer or Hunter Renfrow or one of these other guys, I have no incentive really to draft Jimmy G. But the thing about if you can get a Jimmy G blow up week, Jimmy G blow up week, how often does that happen? All right, if AJ Dillon's on the board, we want him. We're a full 12 picks away. Baltimore and Cleveland. A couple AFC North rivals. Take a look. See if we find any good correlation with us. Week 9. Have a nice matchup against Seattle. And then week 15 with Jacksonville. Let's look a little further down at week 9. Cincy Buffalo. Don't have too much of either of them. Dallas Philly. Get a guy like Kenny Gainwell. Miami KC. I'd like to get a piece of that. Rams Green Bay. Minnesota Atlanta, perhaps. Chicago New Orleans. Dallas Philly. Yeah. Dallas Philly. Washington New England. Where was Vegas on that list? Already lost him. Week 13, was it? Here was week 9. Where's Vegas? Against the Giants. We can get some of those Giants pass catchers in the last rounds. All right. Closing in. 5 picks away. A lot of quarterbacks in this range from rounds 9 to 11. 6 of them. Kirk, Cousins, Jared Goff, Aaron Rodgers. So Geno's still on the board. We have 4 picks. 5 guys start at the top of the player queue here. We'll at least get one that we really want. Jacoby Myers. Wouldn't be mad if we didn't get him, but I'm just hoping for some good ADP value right here. If Geno's there, I think we have to take him. He just went. If Taysom's there, I think we have to take him. 22 picks past ADP. I like that. Like that a lot. But I have a feeling we're not the only one who likes that. Only thing we can say is 2 of these guys have already drafted tight ends, so maybe that helps us. Hopefully they spend a lot of capital on it. Kyle Pitts at 56, not really. Hawkinson at 39, yeah. We're live. We're live for Taysom. Big Stilly. Sean Watson and Kirk Cousins. You need some running back help. This is the kind of the rounds you want to do it in. That list is starting to get a little thin. We don't want Tank Bigsby, because that'd be kind of hedging our Travis Etienne. Kenny Gainwell, Raheem Mostert. Ooh, Taysom Hill, yep. Big Stilly. Needed a running back. He said to hell with it. All right. Best thing we got on the board is Dalton Kincaid. For our Buffalo, as far as Buffalo pass catchers go, I think he could have some spike weeks. Chess Liam. Been in some heated debates recently about Dalton Kincaid's possible finishes. Saying maybe he could be the second option over Gabe Davis. Maybe it's pie in the sky, but I don't mind it. 2 more tight ends just went off the board behind us, so. All right. We do have Jacoby Myers. I don't think we want to wait too much more for wide receivers further on. Let's draft him. We missed out on that second quarterbacks tier, but that leaves us Jimmy G in the last round. We know he'll be there. Couple picks, 3 picks of ADP value. That's kind of been the story for our draft so far. 2 picks of value here, 3 picks of value there. 8 picks of value or so on Dalton Kincaid. So it's not bad. Shaking out pretty good so far. All right, so we got Buffalo and more Las Vegas. Buffalo and Las Vegas week 2. Take a look and see what else we have. Chicago, Tampa Bay. We can go for some Cade Otton. Cincinnati, Baltimore. You can find some Cincinnati again. That idea of one of those Cincinnati, maybe the backup running back. Or Irv Smith. Maybe Irv Smith. Looking at the tight ends, because in that range, I mean, if you're gambling on that backup running back to only spike when the guy in front of him goes down. Who else? Dallas Jets. Denver, Washington. Where's Kansas City? Who are they against? Detroit, Seattle. That's going to be big. In Detroit, in a dome. Keep our eyes on the board here. Kyler Murray at 137. Got some positive feelings, positive vibes on him. Going around Twitter. Seattle and Detroit. Detroit. Laporta. Irv Smith. Cole Kmet at 150. Maybe should have waited. That's one thing I've found out as well. Anytime you feel like you want a tight end, don't take him. Unless it's past like round 12. Because there's so many more. You're always scrolling through the tight ends at the end of the draft going, that works. That really works. And these guys are starters. There's not questions about their workload. All right, we're 8 picks away. I wanted to see what Kansas City was doing. Kansas City, Jacksonville. Las Vegas, Buffalo. Minnesota, Philly. Week 2's big. Week 2's going to have a lot of big totals, I think. Chicago, Tampa Bay. We'll just say, like, if we're telling ourselves a story, Justin Fields just runs away with that game. Nobody else on Tampa Bay, and even Chicago, comes along. And even if they do, they don't separate. Kansas City, Jacksonville. We got Isaiah Pacheco. We could run it either, he has a huge rushing game. Say the Chiefs score. They're up by halftime and they just run out the clock. But they love to pass the ball. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had like a bunch of receiving touchdowns early on in the year last year, I'm pretty sure. And then we got Kenneth Walker in Jacksonville. So let's see if we can't find some more. Cole Kmet. I was going to say really the only correlation that we had. He Mostert in Miami. KJ Osborne's sitting at the top of the ADP, so there is some value on him if he's there. Not too much else on anybody else that's there. We do need running backs, however. He Mostert. Where's Jeff Wilson end up? Around 170 or so. Yeah, I think we need running backs in this range. Kendre Miller. I'm cooling on. I'm going to guess so is everybody else. Pick 155 here. All right, Irv Smith would give us that Cincinnati. We don't have any Cincinnati yet. Was just a big Joe Burrow injury just now. 149 on Algier is the biggest ADP value. But we do want Kenny Gainwell. Atlanta. Tyler Algier. Let's just grab Kenny Gainwell. He's the guy I really want. This Uli's guy, he's been poaching. He's been poaching the guys we like. All right, we're at 1462. Don't want to take a tight end in this range. Any receivers that we like? Rashid Shaheed. Talk about blow-up games. I do like Raheem Mostert as a guy who can break off huge touchdowns, but when you can get Jeff Wilson later on in the draft. All right, we don't have too much in terms of correlation. Let's take Rashid Shaheed. He does offer us a little bit of that NFC South correlation that we were getting with Seattle. What was Cleveland doing in that week 2? That week 2, juicy. Pittsburgh. Going to be a game with a low total. Especially if there's no Burrow week 1. If Watson still isn't showing that much improvement, we know Pittsburgh's offense is not desirable. Baltimore. Cincinnati. Think about likely, the end of the draft. Jacksonville, Kansas City. All right. At this point, let's figure out like archetypes of guys we like. We like ADP value, so Irv Smith. Kendre Miller, we need running backs. We'll take value there if we can get it. Alec Pierce, he's a deep threat guy. Anthony Richardson's got the arm. DJ Chark, he was their boundary receiver and where was he? He was in Detroit and then Jacksonville before that, but he's just not all that good. Plus, they have a rookie quarterback. Devin Singletary, Khalil Shakir. Juwan Johnson, some more New Orleans. Tajay Spears. Jerome Ford. Could also think about Jordan Love. Don't have any Green Bay. And if we already have naked Justin Fields, we probably don't want a naked statue pass catcher type guy. Vontae Parker. Cordero later on. Zamir White later on. Richie James been coming up. Pick 190 ADP. All right, I want to make sure we're keeping our finger on the pulse of what's happening. Tight ends going off. This left side of the draft board here, they drafted positions in waves. They had a huge wave of running backs. Around 7, 8, 9, 10. Really hammering tight ends in 13, 14, and 15. Curtis Samuel, Jeff Wilson. All right, Mike Gesicki, don't love it. Look specifically at the tight ends. We did want to target one of the weeks where the Jets were playing Chicago, might have been. You remember that. Isaiah Likely. Get some more Baltimore pass catchers. Jake Ferguson. He spikes. Big Dallas freak, right? Betting big on Dallas. Michael Mayer. Got a lot of guys we're throwing in here. Luke Musgrave. Trey McBride. I don't see why they wouldn't give Trey McBride just a huge amount of volume, huge amount of work. Get Zach Ertz out of there. Noah Fant as well. We've got no Geno, though. Kind of hard to finish off our stacks there when we don't have the quarterback to go along with it. When really, if you're hoping for a Noah Fant. Got enough of Seattle there without him. All right, 2 picks away. What do we got? Biggest value on the board is Jordan Love, just a couple picks. Curtis Samuel. All right, Jordan Love's gone. We've been talking about Jeff Wilson all day. I think we have to take him if he's there. Brock Purdy. Yep, let's do it. Miami, more AFC East. We know we're going to be getting crossover with both our NFC East and our AFC East teams. On the comeback here, all right, Curtis Samuel. What do we need? I think our second quarterback that we're going to be looking at is going to be Jimmy G. For Daryl Patterson, Devontae Parker's in New England. Zamir White in Vegas. Ty Conklin. Let's go with Cordero Patterson. He had huge blow-up games. We know he can do it. We don't know what the hell's going on in Atlanta. Who are they going to use as a pass catcher? They might split him out wide a lot. All right, I think we're done there at running back. 2 more picks. We don't need to go with tight end. We do need to go quarterback. Jimmy G. Should probably go quarterback and a tight end. Because we know these guys got playing time. It's guaranteed. Right, the receivers and the running backs in this range. Maybe aside from Fournette. The other guys we're thinking of, right, was the Cincinnati running backs. Chase Brown, Travion Williams. Throw him in there. Tavius Murray. Melvin Gordon might be a little interesting. He got signed to Baltimore. Questions about J.K. Dobbins. But that's something we can draft way later in the offseason. If we're going Vegas, I was going to say Hunter Renfrow. We're going to draft Jimmy G. Why don't you take Hunter Renfrow? Because, yeah, he might get traded. But if he gets traded, that might help him. Probably will help him in terms of volume, you would think. A New York receiver. Devontae Parker, I mean, you know they're not cutting him. All right, he's gone. Likely, Ferguson, Mayer. Any one of those guys. And Jimmy G. Jordan Love, Purdy, Kenny Pickett, 185. Chase Brown, 187. Michael Meyer, 190. A lot of running backs at the end of the draft here. Gonna guess there won't be as many quarterbacks. A lot of tight ends. A lot of running backs, I foresee. Take a look at some of these teams here. Anybody going with some really weird builds? Q sub, so far only Joe Burrow. Sometimes if you go for that elite quarterback in this format, people don't go for the second. He did go for CJ Stroud at the 2 spot with Mechie and Schultz. So he was planning that one from the beginning. How about Mahomes? Mahomes and Tyreek. Deadly. All right. Nobody yet. He's got Meyer, Knox, and Freiermuth as his tight ends. Derrick Henry, Madison, Montgomery. Hopefully we can say that his receivers are a little light. Isaiah Likely and Jake Ferguson. I think those are our picks. And then Jimmy G. Vegas could be good, right? Vegas could be good. Everybody's got him left for dead. He's being drafted as QB. What is that? 29? Trey Lance ahead of Baker. How the mighty have fallen. First round, top 3 pick cursed QB. Mac Jones. Yeah, I think I'm hoping Likely makes it to us for some reason. Want to be looking in on Baltimore. Love getting a good tight end. Getting ADP value on him. Just take a quick peek again at their schedule. Detroit in week 7. Seattle in week 9. The only thing is Las Vegas's bye week is 13. Likely just went off the board. Anybody else? Not really. So we go Jake Ferguson without Dak. I think we can get away with that. Because we got CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, and Jake Ferguson with no Dak. So how can we make that work, right? But we have Justin Fields, the rushing quarterbacks, who can make it on their own. Don't necessarily have to bring anybody with them. The rushing sucks up so much value. So if Dak throws, 2 out of these 3 guys have a big week. CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson both blow up. But Dak doesn't separate from Justin Fields. Putting Jimmy at G up top. Dallas against Buffalo in week 15. Miami 16. Detroit 17. Philly 14. Seattle. Buffalo. No, who's this? Dallas has a really good slate of games there at the end of the year. Buffalo, Miami, Detroit. I think we're going Jimmy G here. Finish off our Las Vegas stack with Adams and Myers. Let's see if Jimmy G can't throw 5 touchdowns in one game. Against Buffalo, Dalton Kincaid, he blows up week 2. We got Jacksonville, Travis Etienne running wild against Kansas City. Isaiah Pacheco, it's a battle of the running backs between Travis Etienne and Isaiah Pacheco. Seattle, we want the biggest rushing workload in those games. Those games with the high totals, hopefully they're going to be doing a lot of running. That doesn't seem like it'll be the way it'll turn out. But you never know. right, this team is interesting. I think I made a bit of a mistake by drafting Travis Etienne here in the early 4th. Now that I'm looking at it, I wanted Mike Williams and I wanted Christian Kirk. People have been big on Calvin Ridley, although I think Kirk will be falling a little bit more now that they see all the hype from Ridley out of camp. Mike Williams might have been the one. We do want more wide receivers. But we're doing all right there. We don't have too many questions. Even Jimmy G, I don't have a question about him. I know he's going to be playing. The question is, can he stay healthy, right? But that's always a question. This has been a nice weekly winners. Trying to change up the way we think about it a little bit. We don't want to be so dedicated to that correlation with the divisions and their matchups. Trying to think a little bit more. Thanks to Dooley on Twitter. Give him a follow. We'll be doing more of these drafts here. So subscribe, like the video, and I'll see you in the next one.